Baden Clay drug shock.
Exclusive. Killer's father in prison clothing test controversy.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And that front page story in Brisbane's Courier Mail had breakfast TV abuzz last week, with Channel 9's Today Show leaping on the news at 6:01am and getting its reporter out to the jail before dawn for an update.
The spotlight is on the father of wife killer Jared Baden Clay this morning after traces of cannabis were reportedly found on his clothes during prison visits. Let's go live to Today Brisbane reporter Ashlyn Krukellis. Ashlyn, there are reports this has happened multiple times.
Over on Channel 7, the network's Sunrise was also hot on the trail.
Well, according to the Courier Mail, Nigel Baden Clay, Jared's father, has tested positive to having traces of marijuana on his clothing at least 4 times.
But what was the fuss all about? And why on earth did the Courier Mail think it a front page story? Jared Baden Clay's father, Nigel, is in his 70s. So, was the Courier Mail seriously suggesting he's a dope smoker or acting as a drug mule for his son? As lawyer Peter Shields quickly told the Brisbane Times,
Nigel Baden Clay and his family do not use illegal drugs.
And as Nigel Baden Clay's daughter Olivia soon told Media Watch, the idea was ridiculous.
My dad is a 71-year-old pensioner who was, earlier this year, commended by the Newman government for 20 years voluntary service as a Justice of the Peace.
Before long, Nigel Baden Clay was himself denying it, telling Media Watch,
I have never taken any illicit substance and indeed would not know one if I saw one.
And what do you know? If you looked beyond the Courier Mail's damning headline,
Baden Clay drug shock.
The paper wasn't actually accusing him of drug use either.
The Courier Mail does not suggest Nigel Baden Clay uses or handles marijuana.
Indeed, the paper was at pains to point out the positive tests to cannabis could mean nothing, because the prison scanners are so sensitive that a positive result can be produced
by a person innocently touching or brushing objects, such as by handling money or catching public transport.
The Courier Mail's Facebook page was soon confirming this fact, with a flood of posts from others who'd failed drug tests on visits to the jail.
Just use the public toilets at the prison and you're guaranteed to be contaminated in some way.
I used to test positive for everything from cannabis to heroin and was never near either. I quickly learnt to bring baby wipes before a visit, plus never, ever filling up with petrol prior.
Next day, in the Courier Mail, the manufacturers of the machine were also quoted saying pretty much the same thing. So why did Queensland's biggest daily paper publish such a silly, flimsy story? Well, the Baden Clay name is still big news after that famous murder case, so people love to read about them. Or, as Nigel's daughter puts it,
it's a very, very cynical exercise purely to increase newspaper sales.
But the Courier Mail maintains it was no such thing, and there were matters of public interest at stake, telling Media Watch,
Prison security and drugs in prisons are clearly of interest to the public, and authorities go to great lengths and expense to screen visitors. As we reported in the story, whistleblowers from within the prison system have raised concerns about the screening process highlighted by this case.
But this is by no means the first time that Nigel Baden Clay has been collateral damage. In the past, it's been wrongly suggested he helped cover up his daughter-in-law's death. And the drug shock headline has brought him more unwanted media attention.
It is disgusting that a person who has never met us and does not know us should be allowed by his editor to write such an article that is so damaging. As a direct result of the Courier Mail's article in Thursday's paper, reporters and photographers from TV channels 7, 9 and 10 virtually camped outside our home from before 7am yesterday.
As his son's lawyer told Media Watch last week,
he's very stoic, but at the end of the day, he's 71. He's never done anything wrong in his life other than stand by and support his son.
So what does the Courier Mail say in response? Well, it stands by its story, says it was in the public interest, and repeats once again,
there is absolutely no suggestion Mr. Baden Clay has been found with illegal drugs. In fact, the story categorically says he has not.
Shame the big banner headline gave a different impression. But now, let's leave the Courier Mail and the Baden Clays and let's have some fun. Yes, let's play $1 Million Month.
Absolutely everyone's beyond excited about the West Australians' $1 Million Month. That's because every day this September, one lucky reader has a chance to win $50,000.
Yep, the gold rush was on again in WA last month with that fabulous giveaway from the state's biggest daily paper. And don't say you didn't notice, because if you turned on the TV, the come-ons were everywhere.
Simply buy the West Australian each day. Register your unique code online, then look to see if you're in the $50,000 daily prize draw.
And if you did miss them on TV or radio, you would surely have seen them in the West Australian, which had a banner ad on the front page every day, and more ads dotted throughout the paper.
$1 million month. A chance to win $50,000 every day in September.
So excited was the West about its bonanza that it ran 405 promos on TV and radio in August and September, with airspace valued at $145,000 by advertising monitoring firm Ubiquity. So, what's not to like about such largesse? And why did one MediaWatch viewer tell us it was a
$1 million dud?
What is his problem? Well, put simply, it's that it was not a $1 million month at all, and that the promotion
Is very likely going to fizz out at well under 1/5 of that.
or, in other words, a $200,000 month. Well, I guess that is a bit of a letdown. So let's find out a little bit more and get the West to tell us how you could win.
Collect your unique code from the front of the West Australian.
Okay, and then?
Each registered finalist will get the chance to pick one envelope out of 100.
And then?
One envelope will contain a symbol for $50,000.
Whoa, stop for a moment. What was that again?
One envelope will contain a symbol for $50,000.
Wait a minute. So the lucky finalists had only a 1 in 100 chance of winning the $50,000 prize? And what, pray, was in the other 99 envelopes?
$500.
That's a bit disappointing. But what about the $1 million month? Because they wouldn't call it that unless they were giving that much away, would they? So let's ask Professor Berwin Turlak from the University of WA's Centre for Applied Statistics what the chance of that was.
The $1 million month competition would have to pay out a total of $1 million or more, with probability 2.7303 times 10 to the power of minus 33.
Doesn't sound good, but what does that mean? Well, a 1 in 10 chance would be 0.1, a 1 in a million chance would be 0.0000001, and the chance of the West Australian paying out $1 million would be
0.0000000000000027303.
Or, if you prefer fractions, that's roughly 1 in 366,000 billion. So, not very likely. So we asked the West Australian if the title $1 Million Month was really fair. And they said, zero. Zilch. Nada. So perhaps $1 Million Dud is on the money. In fact, we reckon they gave away only $65,000. And it would have been less than that had they not had a special draw to ensure that someone won the big prize. And for that money, the West Australian pulled in new readers who gave their contact details to the paper so it can bombard them with marketing material in the future. Clever, eh? But newspapers need to be clever at the moment because times are still tough. Print sales are still falling, and so is advertising revenue. Although News Corp's The Australian has been assuring us yet again that things are looking up.
Signs of green shoots for print ad revenues.
Last week, the paper reported that the newspaper industry had enjoyed
its best September quarter for 3 years.
And that may well be true. But how good was it? Well, not so good. The value of adverts booked in the quarter fell 8.6%. And that drop followed
a 16.9% fall in the June quarter and a 21.6% slide in the March quarter.
And this is in a period when TV ads are hitting new record highs. So, you can see why the bean counters at News Corp's rival, Fairfax Media, have decided to slash costs at their 150 regional newspapers in an effort to save $40 million a year. A couple of weeks ago, Fairfax told journalists at its 8 papers in the New South Wales Riverina, around Wagga Wagga, Griffith, Leeton and Cootamundra, that it's going to roll out a system called News Now, which will see all its local news published online first and not saved for the paper. But it also flagged big cuts, and some readers are outraged.
Journalism under threat. I am devastated to learn of Fairfax's proposed restructure, which would see your staffing slashed.
Fairfax's Riverina papers currently employ 4 photographers for an area the size of Tasmania. 3 of them will be forced to walk the plank. 2 reporters will also go, and so will all 8 sub-editors. That's more than a third of the paper's editorial staff. The journalists who are left will then have 3 jobs apiece: reporting, subbing, and taking the pics. But it's not all bad news. Fairfax has now been running News Now at Victoria's Bendigo Advertiser for more than a year, and it has increased online traffic dramatically and provided what Fairfax calls a significantly better online news experience.
The Bendigo Advertiser's website is now one of the most visited in the Australian community media network.
But news in the paper is now looking old, and print sales have fallen by around 9%, which has cost them money. And since the Advertiser dumped its subs, we've seen gems like this.
Paul Trail begins?
Firefighters rescue adventurous cat.
Parents face a major challenge.
We all make mistakes.
But typos and spelling are not what readers need to be worried about once those job cuts hit, says former Fairfax journalist Rachel Buchanan, author of Stop Press, The Last Days of Newspapers.
There's no staff left in these newspapers, so nothing can be checked and lots of important issues can't be covered. It's a bigger issue than having someone check if a town name is right. It's about what's actually going on here. It might be fracking or new farming laws. Who's covering it?
In Bendigo, where there were only modest cuts, the demands of News Now have made it harder to do the job properly, according to one newsroom source.
The journos are getting hammered. It has hugely increased their workload.
And that pressure on reporters and photographers will ratchet up when the cuts come in, says local MP Michael McCormack, who was editor of Wagga's Daily Advertiser for 11 years.
When I was the editor, our photographers were run off their feet at any time. The Riverina is the size of Tassie, and they drive everywhere. They don't fly. I feel sorry for the people who will work there in the future. The demands on a daily newspaper reporter are already high.
And Bendigo and the Riverina are also just the beginning. Fairfax plans to roll out News Now to all its 150 community papers over the next 2 years and promises to consult with staff along the way. It's not yet clear how many jobs will go, but Michael McCormack is concerned about the impact it will have on country communities where local papers are the heartbeat.
In the country areas, they still play a vital role, and not just for people in the 50-plus age bracket. Who won the local footy? Who baked the best pie in the show? That's the country. The bean counters and Sydney newspaper executives in their hallowed halls don't understand that.
Fairfax Media is adamant that such fears are overblown. The company told Media Watch,
Quality won't be diminished. Our aim before News Now and with News Now is to turn out the best quality product possible.
So, is it inevitable? One anonymous Fairfax executive believes it is.
This is a done deal. There'll be broad community opposition, but I'm not convinced Fairfax is going to listen to it.
And you can read full statements from Fairfax and the Courier Mail on our website, where you can also get a transcript and download the programme. You can also catch up with us on iView and contact me or Media Watch on Twitter. But until next week, that's all from us. Goodbye.